What's up, Mania? How are we feeling? There's like so many of us today. This is crazy, like all across the room. This is so awesome. Hey, well, here's the thing. We're in a new series called Influence. If you don't know, my name is Jake Vayda. I help out around here. Yeah, I'm pretty excited because last week we talked about how it's very easy for us to be influenced. This week, I want to talk about how you can be the influencer. Have you guys seen that on Instagram, like influencers? Like, you guys know what that word is, influencer? Everyone's like, I want to be an influencer. Well, I want to teach you how today. So this series is really weird because today the title of the message is Pass the Salt. You might have seen it on our Instagram. We always promo the different things we're doing every week on our Instagram. And this week, it was Pass the Salt. So when you saw that, you're like, this is weird. Our pastor's going to be talking about salt for 20 minutes. And you were right. But I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but as humans, we have some really weird traditions. Like Easter is bunnies. Christmas is elves. 4th of July, it's what, fireworks? Someone likes 4th of July here. And then Halloween is like costumes. Like, I don't know where we got in us, like, we should do holidays filled with really weird things. I mean, I don't know about you, but I just think it's a little weird that we get dressed up in different things that are not ourselves. We go slamming on, like, neighbors' doors and asking for junk food. I don't know. Like, that just sounds a little peculiar to me. Like, I know we were all raised with that, but if we just really rethink our holiday system, it's pretty jacked up, if you ask me. But not only that, here's the thing. You guys can do that, but if I got dressed up and went out on Halloween, knocked on doors, I'd probably be arrested. So know that I'm kind of mad that you guys get free candy all Halloween night, which is what? Halloween's the 31st? Is that every single year? Yeah, Thursday? Okay, that's awesome. Next week, of course, we're having our Halloween party. I think for the first 10 years of my life, all I thought about was candy. Like, just candy, like M&M's, Snickers, Kit Kat, Reese's, like, candy. Like, that's all I thought about. So when my mom first told me, Jake, people are giving out free candy, random strangers, I was a little confused because my mom always told me, like, any strangers who are giving out candy, like, don't knock on their door. Like, that's just a very clear thing. But then my mom was like, no, here's the thing. Like, everyone's doing it. Like, the whole world, over 20 countries, celebrates Halloween. I was like, oh, okay, Mom. I was like, what do I have to do? She's like, you have to get dressed up. I'm like, I'm willing to do anything. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about the dressed up. I just really wanted the candy. And, like, the name brand stuff, too, right? Like, not those off-brand candies. You're like, I don't know what that is. Like, is that supposed to be a Snicker? Like, just give me the name brand stickers. You know what I mean? Anyways, enough of me ranting about Halloween. I remember as a kid, we always strategically just passed out. Got candy, and at the end of the day, my siblings and I would pass out, like, I'm going to trade you for stickers for a Kit Kat. Does anyone do that, like trade candy at the end of Halloween with their siblings? Yeah, we did that all the time. Like, and I always thought I always got, like, the best end of the deal, almost always. But speaking about Halloween, I decided to scour the internet for at least an hour, and I wanted to find a couple really interesting costumes just so we could point at them and laugh. That's terrible, but that's kind of what I want to do. So here are a couple of costumes that people come up with for Halloween. Let's put yeah, so this is great. You know, they're dressed up as clowns, except for you see the middle lady. She's at least 90 years old. Like, I don't know what her, like, cousins or whoever those people are, like, decided that, like, okay, Grandma, I know you're 95, but I really want you to paint your face. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the age limit is for Halloween, but she definitely passed it. Let's move on to the next picture here. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but, like, they really loved Dalmatians. You know that movie, like, what is it, like 101 Dalmatians? They probably watch that, like, every night. You know what I mean? They're like, we can't wait to dress up. All right, let's go to the next one, just to keep making fun. I thought that was kind of funny. Most of the time, I'm the one with the no filter. Like, I was like, that's a simple, raise your hand if you're dating someone right now, if you're dating someone. Hey, there you go. Now you have your idea of what to do with your significant other. But we'll see which one has the no filter. Then we know who's the uglier one. Is there any other ones here? I think we have one more. Yeah, like, this is cute until you realize, like, these are chefs and they're cooking the baby. I was like, yeah, like, that's cute. Like, Yeah, that's nice if you're into that kind of stuff, eating human beings. Cannibalism, not a big deal, right? Like, who cares? So I just want to show some really, really peculiar outfits there. But yeah, I mean, I loved candy as a kid. I loved Halloween. I mean, specifically, I would love to get M&Ms, and then I would dip them in my popcorn. Does anyone do that? M&Ms with popcorn? Raise your hands. Okay, just me. But like just to get like popcorn M&Ms put in your mouth, and you taste the chocolatey goodness, and then you get the aftertaste of salt. I love salt in general. Like, I don't know why, but like just a little bit of salt can go a long ways. Like all the time. Oh yeah, there it is, popcorn. But popcorn's not really good without salt, if you think about it. Now, another really, really peculiar thing of human history, this is going to sound really boring, but it's the history of salt. You're like, Jake, I don't know if I really came to church to hear about the history of salt. Well, I'm about to tell you about it. Here's the thing. Salt, back in the day, was like a huge commodity. Did you know that they used to weigh gold and salt? And whatever the weight in salt was, they'd give the gold. Like, oh, 10 pounds of salt? Here, I'll give you 10 pounds of gold. Easy. Like, salt was super, super important. Also, I feel like a history teacher right now. Did you know that they used to, with salt, help with, like, mummies to make sure that they stay not decomposed? Yeah? It's like pharaohs. Anyone pharaohs? Pharaohs. Yeah, so they used to, like, that helped preserve the bodies. Or back in the day in China and across the seas with the meat, they'd put salt in the meat so they make sure that it doesn't get spoiled. Did you know that even in Israel back in the day, if someone like maybe like they worked a full-time job and they're like, oh, I'll just, instead of giving you a paycheck, I'm just going to pay you salt. That's delicious. I don't know about that. But it was a huge commodity. Like, it was so big that people literally gave the weight in gold. So here's the thing with salt. Why was it so good? I mean, it was a healer. It was a preserver. Salt was used for so many things back then because they didn't have refrigerators, right? Like, they needed things to withstand things. And not only that, back in Israel, they used to use it. It's called incense. Incense is like something that they used to heal their sins. That was their idea. So they'd go in a room. If you did a mistake, maybe like you lied to your brother, you played way too long on night for it. Or you're on like Tube U or whatever you guys call these things. I don't know. And then you're like, oh, I need my sins forgiven. So you go into a room and there's incense there. And the idea is that God would heal you through this candle. It's basically kind of like a candle. And do you know what the main ingredient for it was? Salt. Yeah, salt was everything. Okay, that's my history of salt. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next week. Okay, wow, thank you so much. I did a lot of research on the history of salt. I should be a history teacher at Eastlake Middle School or Rancho or Arroyo. You guys are like, no, come to my school. So here's what I want to talk about next. The Israelites specifically really cared about salt. So when Jesus came, he gave his most important sermon. And weirdly enough, he actually used the word salt in his sermon. Why? Because it was a huge commodity. So he's just walking around with this Jesus suit, right, like God. And then he realized there's a bunch of people around just like this. He's like, oh, this might be a good time to give a sermon. So he climbs a mountain just like this, right? I guess it's not a mountain. But he gets on top of a stage like this so everyone could see him. And he's about to give the most important message in human history. The most important sermon that a sermon's ever been given. This is the most important one. And I'll tell you why in a second. But some historians, some theologians call this like, you know how you have the Constitution, you know? It's kind of like the Constitution for Christians. Like, that's the message that Jesus spoke. Weirdly enough, in the middle of this message, he uses salt as an example. Now, here's the thing. I talked about salt, but just a pinch of salt can go a long way. Almost like a little bit of salt goes a long way. And I think that's a slide that we have. So Jesus knew a little bit of salt goes a long way. So he said this in his sermon. We'll go to the sermon right here. Just this small verse. He says this. Let me tell you why you guys are all here, okay? You're here to be the salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? You've lost your usefulness and you'll end up in the garbage. Jesus was dramatic. I liked it. He was bold. He was basically saying, look, if you're not being the salt of the world, you're basically garbage. So he was trying to give an example of, since a little bit of salt goes a long way, what if I told you that you guys are the salt of the world? What if I told you that you guys could actually pass the salt? You're like, okay, Jake, I'm not sure I get this. It's kind of like in your locker room, and your bro just tells you that their parents got divorced. And you're like, hey, let me pray for you. That's being the God, that salt seasoning of life, right? You're bringing God to your friends. Or maybe that other time where you're just hanging out with your friends and they're gossiping about someone, and then you actually stand up and be like, dude, that's not cool. Let's talk about something else. Or maybe that time that you actually sign up for Fuego because you realize you want to be a difference maker in your school. All of that is you're being the salt of this world. What if I told you that, yes, you guys can be influenced, right? Watch out what you hear. That's what we talked about last week. But what if I told you that God has called you, uniquely called you to be the salt of the world, his messengers to your friends? Now, in a second, I'm actually going to call up one of my close friends who's been doing amazing things. Not yet. You're like, yes, I'm so excited for her to come up. But here's the thing. I've seen so much of you guys in this room being that salt, being that thing that's so valuable. Because even a little bit of it, right? A little bit of you saying something or inviting someone to church or signing up for Fuego, even something little can go so much bigger. It can go so much big, so much more impact than you could even imagine. So I want to actually invite up Kylie Teeple to the stage. Everyone give a round of applause. Kylie is going to talk a little bit about her story and a little bit about how she's gotten to where she's at today and what she's doing. So without further ado, my friend, Kylie.
Hi, guys. So if you didn't already know, my name is Kylie. I'm an 8th grader, and I'm also one of the Ox Club leaders at Eastlake Middle. So I've been coming to Eastlake Church since I was like a little girl. I came to preschool here, and for as long as I can remember, I've been going to church every Saturday night that I could. Around the age of 9, which was like beginning of 4th grade, I started to question if God was really all that everyone was saying that he was. So my parents would bring me to church, and I would go volunteer in the younger kids' services so I could get out of learning about God and all the stuff in the Bible. This went on until about end of 5th grade, like when I was like 11 years old. So that year, I decided that I wanted to go try out Camp United because I knew a lot of people that had gone the year before, and they said it was a really fun experience, so I was like, why not try it? So I remember one night at Camp United, they had these little cardboard things, these little sheets of cardboard that they gave us, and they told us to write down what was really holding us back from truly accepting God and, embracing him in your life. I remember that night, I decided that I would forgive him for the way that my life was going and just start a new life, like, as a child of God. So after that, I tried coming to church as much as I could, but after a while, it started to get harder and harder to want to come back, and eventually, I kind of stopped going as much as I did. And then camp came back again this year, and I realized how much God does for us, and that we should appreciate everything that he does for us. So after camp, I've been coming to every single Saturday night service that I could and volunteer on the Sundays. I applied to be an Ox Club leader so I could try and make a difference by speaking to other people stories about God and how he can make an influence on my life and on your guys' life. And I've improved relationships with other people because I've accepted God into my life. I've gotten better grades, and just my whole life in general has gotten so much better. So God is an almighty force that can change your life, and he will change it just like he changed mine.
Yes, you can obviously tell that she could be a pastor one day. What's cool about Kylie, she literally spoke, was it yesterday in our Ox Club? So we had 180 students at our Eastlake Middle Ox Club, and Kylie spoke for it for the second time this year. And what's crazy about her story is this. It was one friend or maybe a parent that said, hey, you should go to Camp United. So someone that was maybe kind of not really caring about God, that would maybe volunteer to try to just get out of it, because it wasn't really her faith. It might have been her parents' faith. She didn't really care about Jesus. And then all of a sudden, maybe a friend or a parent said, hey, you want to come to Camp United? And since Camp United, her whole entire life has been changed. It's crazy how just that one invite of her friend or a parent saying, hey, you should come to Camp United, actually changed the whole trajectory of her life. I remember I was laying down, looking up at the stars at night in Maine. I was on a trampoline because, of course, I love trampolines a lot. And thank you very much. Yeah, trampolines are the best thing in the world as a child. So, like, I was, 7th grade, I think, and I was looking up at the stars, and my cousin was just there just chilling, too, and he's like, hey, Jake. I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, you should come to growth group with me. And I came to church, like kind of like Kylie, but I didn't really care that much. I'd even volunteer with the little ones, so I wouldn't have to go to my own service. I said, okay, fine. It was on a Saturday night, kind of like this, and I went. The room was not. It didn't look anything like this. It was kind of like a crappy basement type of look. It was like a church. It was pretty terrible. But it had the couches that looked like that. It had a ping pong table. That was it. One ping pong table. Now we have like foosball. We have all these crazy stuff, but we had one ping pong table. And I sat down with my friends on the couch, and we started talking. There's about 12 people there. So I really wasn't friends with them just yet, but I recognized a couple of them from school. And we started talking about life. We started talking about relationships or how we could be Christians at school. And then every single week, I kept coming back, playing more and more ping pong, having more and more deep conversations. And I don't know what happened there, but somehow I started really getting on fire for God. Like God set a fire in my soul to just do something. So I don't know. I started a kind of like what Kylie did with a bunch of our other leaders. They started like a Christian club. That's what I did at my school. In middle school, that's what I did. In high school, I did the same thing. In college, I started 2 Christian organizations. And then I moved straight from there to be a pastor here in San Diego by myself. And I don't think I could have done any of that without that one night looking up at the stars with Jesse by my side sitting on that trampoline. I think I actually have a picture of my cousin. He was at, of course, my wedding, so I think I have a picture of him. There he is. He's funny. I love Jesse. He's amazing. But it's so funny because this relationship, right, him just saying those 7 or 8 words, hey, do you want to come to church? Changed my life forever. I'm going to invite the band to come back up. We're going to sing one last song. And this one sentence that they told me, that Jesse told me, I don't know how, somewhere in his mind, he realized that he was the salt of the world. Somewhere in Jesse's mind, as he asked me, hey, do you want to come to church? He actually thought to himself, he could be someone who could make a difference, just like Kylie said. I mean, what if you guys, I don't know, we have around 100 middle schoolers in this room. What if every single one of you said, I'm going to pass the salt this week. I'm going to actually believe that God has called me uniquely to preach, almost to speak to my friends, to support them in the ways that I can, to love them in the ways that I can. I want you guys to go ahead and stand up, and you guys can come actually close to the stage one more time. We have one last song. Go ahead and come up. Here's the thing, Kylie's story, it's not just one story. My story is just like Kylie's. And it's funny, I'm looking around this room right now, and I know at least 15 people in here who have stories just like that. And my job as a pastor is to try to replicate this set of fire type of thing that happens in your soul. What if we as Mania people, as the Mania community, what if we, right here on Saturday night, decided together, we're going to make a difference in our schools? What if right now was the chance that you said to just to yourself, you're not talking to a neighbor next to you, what if you decided, okay, now's the time that I'm going to own my faith? It's not right now my dad's relationship with Jesus. Right now it's my relationship with Jesus, not anyone else's, just like Kylie did at camp. What if this was almost like your camp experience? What if you passed the salt this week? I'm going to pray, and then we're going to sing a song. And then around halfway through, I want to come back up and say a couple more words. But I want you guys to just close your eyes for a second, so go ahead and close your eyes. God, it's amazing that you have called us to be the salt of the world. This thing that back in the day was so important, that people loved so much because it did so many good things, God. The way that you looked at salt is the same way that now you look at these people standing here right now. You look at them as the light in the darkness. You look at them as a city on a hill that cannot be hidden. God, I pray for every single person here right now in this room. They would actually believe that you have specifically called them to go out into their schools and to be the light, to go out in their schools and be just like Jesse did, just like Kylie is now. God, I pray that as we sing this last song called Set a Fire in My Soul, God, it's a simple song, but as Tim leads us in this next song, God, I pray that every single middle schooler actually feels something happening inside of them, something maybe that you're calling them to make a difference in their schools, to make a difference in their friendships, to make a difference in their families. Amen.
No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. Here in your love, here in your love. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. Here in your love, here in your love. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. Here in your love, here in your love. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. We want more of you, God. We want more. We believe you, Jesus.
There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be than here in your love, here in your love. No place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be. There's no place I would rather be than here in your love,
Sing it out if you
here
believe it.
in your love.
No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. Here in your love, here in your love.
Raise your hands if you believe it.
No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. No place I would rather be. Here in your love, here in your love.
I want to sing the chorus again, just one last time in a second, which is set a fire in my soul that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. Who counted for me? How many students that we have in here? There's a couple of people. 72? Yeah. So we have around 72 people in this room right now. Here's my vision. It's kind of crazy. I want 72 first-time guests next week. I want 72 first-time guests. That's what I want. You're like, yeah, okay. This is how we can do it. If every single one of you guys decide to go out in the community and actually be a salt in the world, be the salt on the hill, right? That's what Jesus said. If you can do that, just invite one student. We're going to pass out the things that we've been passing out for the last several weeks, which is the mania, the 6 weeks thing. And I'm going to give one to you, and then I'm going to give one to you to hand out to a friend. So I'm going to give you two. We're going to have leaders do that at the end. Here's the idea. I want you to actually think about that one flyer that you have. One's for you, that one flyer for your friend. Who's that one friend that needs to hear maybe about Jesus? That maybe needs a little bit of help right now? What if you could actually make a difference in your friend's life, just like Jesse did with mine, or just like someone did with Kylie? So one last time, just close your eyes. We're going to take 5 seconds. I want you to think of that one friend that you're going to invite to the Halloween party next week. God, you are doing something in this room. God, I know we have like 14 people on our leadership team, but it's almost funny because I feel like we have 72 people on the leadership team right now. People who are going to lead their friends. God, people that you're going to set a fire in their souls, that there's not going to be their parents' faith anymore. They don't have to wait until they're older to get this whole Jesus thing, that they can actually get the whole Jesus thing right now. God, yes, so we'll eat hot dogs, we'll dress up in costumes next week, we'll do a bunch of fun things, God, but we do this all for you. So God, I pray for every single student in this room right now that they would feel the same weight that I do and feel the same exact Jesus power, God, that you had in your own soul. God, thank you so much for every single student. God, we boldly ask you, we boldly proclaim that we want 72 first-time guests next week, because every single student here is going to be released out in their schools and actually create some type of movement, some type of push. This media community here is going to change their world for the better. One more time. Here, set a fire. Set a fire down in my soul
that I can't contain, that I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God.
I want to go ahead and give the mic to Mackenzie. Mackenzie's going to say a couple words as well as Yasmin. But thank you guys so much for being here.
I think for me, I just think back. 8 years ago, I remember our neighbor, her name was Chris Roberts. She invited us to East Lake Church for the very first time. And I remember thinking, I am not going to go there. Like, someone's going to have to drag me to East Lake Church because I don't want to go there. But my mom dragged my hair here. And now that I think about that one invitation that our neighbor, Chris Roberts, she changed the course of my family's life. And now I'm here, and now I'm able to hang out with you guys. It's just crazy to see how awesome God is. And now I went to Europe for like 3 weeks, and Chris Roberts and her family now live in Italy, and we got to go hang out with them and thank them for changing our lives just because of one invitation. So I think for me, what this message reminded me of is that I need to be more bold in my ask. I need to think about every day, who can I invite here? Because I know this changed my life. And I don't know about you, but I know I'm not the only one that was moved by today. So I want to hear from Miss Mackenzie. Miss Mackenzie, how did God impact you today, or what did you hear from the message?
I really liked what Jake and Kylie were talking about, and what I took away from the message was that God wants us to be the salt in the world, and He brought us here to be the salt in the world and to change so many other people's lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I totally think you guys can do the very same things. So I am going to pray us out. Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for sharing. Great job, everybody. Give it up for Mackenzie. And don't forget, next week is our Halloween party, and Sunday we will not have service at all anywhere at the church because we're going to go out and serve at East Lake Middle. So remember, come here on Saturday. No one will be here on Sunday except the rat that hangs out in this room. I'm just kidding. There's no rat in here. All right, I'm going to pray. Lord, Heavenly Father, I just thank you for today and the way that you move, Lord. I just pray that these students this week, that they feel encouraged.